Good evening. We are ready to begin our June 13th regular Board of Trustee meeting here at Florida Gateway College with a call to order. And we will begin this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Bear, would you lead us?
Please face the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Our first item of business, as always, is audience of any citizen. I don't have anyone listed, but we will read our disclaimer here. The FGC Board of Trustees will hear any citizen who wishes to address the board on a one-time basis pertaining to a relevant topic. If the board wishes to hear more about the topic will be scheduled for a future board meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The time dedicated to this topic will not exceed 20 minutes. And if I don't hear from anyone, we'll move forward. Board members, you have had a copy of the May 9 minutes workshop and regular meeting. We will ask you to consider this item. Are there any changes, corrections, or amendments that need to be made? Hearing none, we'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes as read by you.
So moved, Medina.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Surns. We have a motion by Mr. Medina, a second by Dr. Surrency to approve the minutes as we receive them. All in favor of that motion, if there's no discussion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion's carried. This evening, we're going to ask our student government representative, Ms. Zamaria Granada, if she would to please come forward and give us her report. And she does a wonderful job. Great job. Hello.
Thank you. Good evening. The new SGA is about to begin preparations for the next academic year. We will have our first meeting on June 17th, and then we will follow up with meetings on July 24th, and we'll meet regularly the week before the beginning of the school. Most of our new members are in SGA for the first time, so I'm sure they're excited to get started. During these meetings, we'll be training in parliamentary procedures, learning about the Florida College System Activities Association, and how SGA fits within the organization. We will also begin our planning for events, activities, and outreach for the new year. I can't wait to meet with this new group to see what ideas they have for the SGA. This includes my report today.
I want to tell you how impressive it is during the course of the summer when I was in college, FGA meetings were not necessarily my priority during summer. And that you all are meeting in June and July. I really appreciate that. That's very proactive on your part. We appreciate your leadership.
Yes, sir.
Any other observations, comments from the board? And thank you for being here this afternoon.
No problem.
Great job. Okay, our next item of business is the presentation of our consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda, of course, are routine business, state directives, compliance items. Have all been reviewed by our board attorney, been available to the board for its examination. Any trustee can request topic to be removed from the consent agenda and discuss further. Any typographical errors will be noted and corrected in the board minutes. Was there any item, as you have reviewed this, fellow board members, is there any item that you would like to have removed and considered separately? If there are none, we'd like to entertain a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I so move.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. makes a motion to approve. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mrs. Norris makes a motion, seconds the motion to approve. Is there any discussion by our board members? If not, all in favor of approval of our consent agenda, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. On to academic affairs.
Oh, gosh, I forgot. Hopefully, Mr. Chair, this will be my last report as the... I'm Chris Brady, who's been with us a couple years and is the new Dean of Workforce and CTE programs. We want to say thank you for his service, but also Lusty Training Center ran 15 workforce courses for law enforcement and correction officers, and a total training was utilized by 25 different agencies with 183 students attending at least one of the courses, which included active shooter response, field training officer, and firearms instructor, and more. So we're using that facility and that campus to help not just our students, but our community. Our paramedic program was just found. Our 2023 licensure rate, we always like to know about that, rose to 92% for the first-time test takers and 100% overall. While we're still awaiting state numbers for other providers, this number would have placed us number 2 overall in the state in 2022, but we haven't gotten the figures for 2023. Welding had some great results from the AWS testing, with 100 students earning their certifications in the spring. That's 9 for 9. And the overall pass rate for the year was 95%. Corrections, our pass exams, our rate was 95%. And after officers completing the corrections, remember we do the corrections to law enforcement, crossover academy, their pass rate was 100%.
Wow.
And I mentioned earlier in the workshop that we saw a grant opportunity, and I called immediately to Chris that there was some extra money left over in the workforce incentive grant, specifically regarding agriculture. And we applied for the agricultural cap grant in the amount of $200,000, and we received it the other day. These funds will be to revitalize Building 31, which was called a lot of different things, but it acted as our temporary chemistry lab, and it will go to refurbish. Chris, 1 second, could you just say what it's going to go? I mean, I know what it is, but you talk about the waves.
The 2 greenhouses as well as the center portion. So the goal is to use the money to get both greenhouses back online and operational, and having one of them actually add things such as a wave table to show tidal erosion, as well as a living pond where you can see the actual stages from plant growth. And then the other one would be just a typical functioning greenhouse. And then to update the technology in the main building so it's as good as any other classroom, and it can become an agricultural center.
And that's where the chemistry lab was. Okay. So that was accepted, so we got $200,000. And I do think there's some extra money for next year in that budget. So when we talk about cuts or vetoes, there's other opportunities to maybe do something with that. So I just wanted to let you know. Our students are going towards the end of the month, of course, to Harlexton in England for their study abroad. There's 8 of them, right, in Troy. And, of course, we mentioned our play that will be held by our students and community. That will be at the end of the month. Peter and the Stargazer, and if any of you want tickets to that, let us know. And I believe that is the academic affairs report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions, observations from our board members? If not, our next item is Student Affairs Public Information, and Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for noticing how busy our Student Government Association is, because I'd like to start out by talking about them today. Excuse me. 2 of our SGA executive board members, Justin Hernandez and Amaya Callum, made the Florida College System All-Academic Team this year. To qualify, they had to juggle a 3.3 GPA and 18 credit hours, which is no easy feat. Big cheers to these 2 students, and a tip of the hat to Amy Deacle for steering SGA through another stellar year. Thank you, Amy. In athletics, in our athletic department, Florida Gateway is bursting with pride as we have 27 of our student athletes that were named to the FCSAA Academic All-Region team. They had to maintain a 3.3 GPA or higher. Cheerleading and women's cross country each had 3 athletes on each of those teams that met this. Men's cross country, softball, men's basketball, and flag football had 4 athletes on each team that met this criteria, and esports had 5 on their team that met this criteria. FGC softball accolades have started to come in. Brooklyn Kennedy, our sophomore catcher from McClinney, Florida, has been crowned softball's FCSAA Division II Catcher of the Year. With a .404 batting average, 4 home runs, 30 RBIs, and 19 runs scored, Brooklyn's stats are very impressive. Adding to the accolades, Brooklyn made first team all-conference, and Peyton Hatcher from Dixie County snagged a spot on the second team all-conference. This is an extremely competitive softball conference, not only in the state of Florida, not only in the Southeast, but in the nation, as St. John's River won the national championship this year. They had maybe 3 or 4 losses, but we were one of them, and we got them at home, and we'll get them next year. FGC summer camps, hot and happening. It's probably the easiest way to describe this week. Despite the sweltering temperatures, our summer camps have been a huge success. Cross-country camp attracted 10 hardy runners that made it through 90-degree temperatures every day. Our indoor basketball camp hosted 27 Hoop Dreamers this week. We've broken records again, with 218 campers registered so far, compared to 207 from a year ago. And we still have 6 weeks to go. Residence life. Campus housing applications are up with 91 submitted to date. 71 of these applications are from female applicants, 20 are from male applicants. So we're working to even that out a little bit. Maybe get some more male applicants in there. We had 86 a year ago at this time. So we're gearing up for a bustling fall. We're expecting about 70 plus students to be living in the residence hall again. We should be completely full in all of our rooms. New student orientation. We're getting ready for the fall 2024 orientation sessions on July 25th, August 6th, and August 16th. Last year, we sold out each of our in-person sessions. Our theme, How to Succeed, is back. And for those who prefer pajamas to public, our online orientation is available. Last year, we had 292 students complete the online orientation and actually received a badge in the Canvas program. So they went all the way through and answered all of those questions and took all the exams. So that was pretty good on that front. The latest scoop from PIO, we sent out a press release on 5/9 about the FGC flag football team clinching back-to-back national championships. We also put together a press release in collaboration with North Florida College, which in my time, this is the first time we've done that, where we worked on a press release about the CDL programs and how our CDL programs are unique compared to some of the other programs that are being instituted across the state. Pointing out the advantages that our student drivers receive. I believe, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, over 1,000 hours potential road time compared to some programs that can be as low as 200. And our programs have worked very closely together to help put this together. We visited their driving pad. They've come to ours, and they've looked at our program. So we're working at some more cross-promotion of our CDL programs and the difference that they make on the industry, on the shipping industry, and being in the logistical place that we are, being so connected to 75 and to 10 and to Jacksonville and to Gainesville and to Tallahassee, how important these two programs are to this part of the state. So we'll continue to work with Allison Finley and Dr. Grosskopf at North Florida College. Also, all of our Life South community blood drives are set for the upcoming year. Our first one for the new year will be on August 29th of 2024. And that concludes my report.
Any questions at all? I just want to say FGC is everywhere. I was speaking in the great state of Indiana this past weekend, and I was asked after I spoke one of the sessions, specifically where I'm from, and I said, McClenny, where is that? Well, do you know where Lake City, Florida? Lake City, yes, I do. The best flag football players in the world come from Lake City, Florida. I'm not kidding. All the way in Indiana, they're singing our praises up there. Incredible.
Well, as a Hoosier, I'm proud to hear that and excited, and I will let them know. I will continue to spread the word up there.
Good folks in Indiana.
Thank
They
you.
love us. Thank you so much. Okay. That is absolutely true. Yeah.
Our fishermen did.
Enrollment and marketing, Ms. Schrader.
Thank you. Good evening. It's difficult to follow all of those stats, Tony. I appreciate that. But I do have some good news about summer enrollment. We're currently up 13.4% in headcount. So we're at 1,866 students compared to 1,646 students at this point last summer. And we're up 8.4% in credit hours at 12,171 credit hours compared to 11,225 credit hours. So that's good news for summer. Fall registration began on May 20th, and it's still very early, but we are slightly up. We are up 1.7% in headcount at 995 students compared to 978 students last year. And then in credit hours, we're up 2.1% at 9,035 credit hours compared to 8,848 credit hours. Did you get it? I saw you writing them down. Okay. Okay. Fall One-Stop Enrollment Day will be held on June 25th. We sent out invites for that last week. We've already had quite a few registrations, so we're looking forward to getting those students started in the fall as well. In financial aid, our Director, Brandy Dean, and Associate Director, Denise Morissette, have done an excellent job implementing this 24-25 FAFSA. A lot of hard work. They feel the importance of it. They have successfully imported some of that data into our banner system, and they're testing with it. And we actually just got an update from Elucian, the company that delivers our student information system, the update to do the calculations and the formula on the new student aid index. So we're testing all of that. It's happening, and we should be there very shortly, being able to calculate financial aid awards for fall. In dual enrollment, we met with Columbia High School staff last week. It was actually myself, Julie Cannon, the dual enrollment director, Ann Brown, our Associate Dean of Health Sciences, and Japira Denson, our Health Information Technology instructor. We met with them about the potential of offering the Medical Coder Biller program on their campus starting in the fall. So the idea is that the majority of it would be in-person, face-to-face with some online options, and this would just be another career and technical education pathway for juniors and seniors to get started. If they start in their junior year, the fall of junior year, and they pursue it the entire time, they could complete the program by the end of their senior year and be eligible to sit for that national certification. So we're still working out the logistics of scheduling the high school blocks with what's required for the college credit classes and the hours, so we're still working that out, but hopefully there will be interest and that'll work out for the fall. Also in dual enrollment, Julie Cannon had a great idea to start offering a new student orientation to dual enrollment students. They have a different process they go through, so we think it'll be helpful. We're going to do that on July 30th at 1:00 p.m. and then on August 6th at 5 p.m. Summer commencement, Dr. Barrett mentioned it in the workshop. Just a reminder, it will be held on August 8th at 6:30 p.m. We do have 80 students signed up to participate and about 23 faculty and staff. In our Campus Vibes series, the next show we'll present is the 1940s Radio Hour. It's a musical by Walton Jones. We'll hold that show at the PAC on Friday, July 26th and Saturday, July 27th, both shows starting at 7:30 p.m. The show is set at Christmas time at a New York radio station and features the final holiday broadcast of a variety show. So what's neat about this production is we did this show in the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, and the theater alumni from those years came together and approached us about performing the show again. So that's what we're doing, and Dr. Barrett supported it, and
Full 8-piece orchestra.
Yes, thank you. So tickets are on sale for that. And July 26th and July 27th, both at
We're planning on having a dinner for them. It's coming out of my special foundation account. We're going to celebrate them. A few of them will be living in the dorms that week, and we're also planning probably a community reception Thursday night of the opening night, so they can be. So if all of you can be there. It's kind of cool to see. I think they're coming from 14 different states.
That's neat.
So it's kind of a cool thing. So if you can come.
Okay, and I know you'll all be excited to hear about this. We have scheduled a Taylor Swift tribute show called Love Story on August 24th. It features singer Ricky Wilson, who looks and performs like Taylor Swift, and a live band performing all of Swift's hits in a fun, energetic way. Tickets are not available yet, but should go on sale at the end of June. And then finally, in audiovisual, Lance Bass and his team continue to do a great job creating videos that highlight our programs and our students. And they've started a series called FGC Voices. And I'd like to share the first one is 30 seconds right now. Hopefully they hear me and they will play it.
Whenever I was first looking at options for colleges, I knew I wanted to do graphic design, and I knew that Florida Gateway College had a graphic design program. I was comparing that to one about an hour away. I was able to get in contact with the graphic design professor. She's made me feel so prepared from before I was admitted to FGC all the way up to now. I feel educated and I feel like I could take on the world, and I'm not worried about transferring to another college because I'm prepared.
Speaker.
It was for summer or spring graduation, Zoe Nettles. And that concludes my report.
Wonderful. Any questions, observations from the board? Good. Thank you so much. Okay. Business Services report from Mrs. Holloway.
Hello again. Okay, this is my annual large report with many requests, so let's get started. Had the student activities budget summary for the upcoming year, 24-25. The college request approval of the student activities budget summary for the fiscal year 24-25. These funds must be spent for the benefit of the student body. The student activity fees will fund, but are not limited to, events and activities on campus, student travel, and recognized student clubs.
You hear our executive director's request. We have many of these, so we'll note it and move forward. What is the mind of the board?
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Tepedino.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Cernse. We have a motion and second. Any questions, discussions? All in favor of that, members of the board, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. My next item, the college requests board approval of the 24-25 scholarship plan. The plan details are found in the table below. This is from the student activity, our financial aid fees that the students pay in. We, in turn, take those funds and give them out in scholarships to the students.
You hear our executive director's request. What is the mind of the board?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Medina.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lander. You hear the motion and second. Is there any questions or discussions by the board?
I have a question about the trustee scholarships. Of that 214 we're projecting, do we end up using all of that?
We usually don't, because there's some that will earn the scholarship, but then not come here.
Not come here? Okay.
Right.
So then it just goes back into the fund?
Yes, and we use it as carry forward for the next year if there's any available. We'd like to spend it all.
How much did we spend this past year? Do you remember?
I don't, but I can get that for you. I have the projected.
I'm assuming that 214, though, is based off of is it off of historical usage, or is it off of what we've done in the past that we've offered?
Probably what we've offered, from what I say. The carry forward, actually, we didn't have any carry forward. I'm not projecting any carry forward of financial aid fees. I am projecting carry forward of the PSAV financial aid fees of $51,000. But it looks like we're going to spend the majority of the financial aid fees within this year is what we should be doing.
Okay.
Dr. Beard has.
Could I just, Casey, you want to tell them how many schools and that kind of, I think that's the question. I think for clarification, I'll just clarify quickly is that, and then I'll ask Casey to follow up, is that if there's a student that declines it before the start of the semester, we have a waiting list. So those, most of the time when it is not, so I just wanted to clarify
Let's
that.
go to the next student, but then we might, have money left because they don't come back in the spring.
That's
So
what
we
it
don't go to
is.
the next one at that point.
Okay.
That's where most of the carryover comes from, is the spring money. That makes sense. Okay, you hear the motion second. Any other question, discussions? All in favor of the motion and as presented, members of the board, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. The motion is carried.
Okay. The college requests approval of the student fee schedule for fiscal year 24-25. The fees are in accordance with the legislative mandated guidelines, but are subject to review and approval by the Florida College System. Proposed capital improvement fees will be used for capital improvements, technology enhancements, or equipping student buildings. Revenues generated from technology fees shall be used to enhance instructional technology resources for students and faculty. And we have not changed these fees since 2014.
Wonderful. You hear our executive director's request. Can we entertain a motion and second?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Are there any questions? Is there any observations by a board member?
10 years, a decade.
That's
It's
incredible.
That is incredible. When you think of inflation, when you think of all the things that are going on, like the commitment to try to make it affordable and to the community is awesome. And I'm not trying to pat ourselves on the back. I'm saying that's work. That's digging in with professor-wise and admin-wise. So thank you guys for allowing that to continue. And it's also the foundation and all the things that go on. So great job.
Any other observations or questions? All in favor of the motion and second, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The motion's carried.
The next item is the approval of the Foundation for Florida Gateway College budget. The college requests approval of the 24-25 budget for the Foundation for Florida Gateway College. I have to pull this out separately and give this to you so you know what we're spending for the foundation's behalf. This overall budget is an increase of $13,952.63 over last year. It's a 4.56% increase, which that's 4% for the salaries and benefits. That's how it's allotted.
Makes sense. Certainly very grateful to the foundation. You hear our executive director's request. We'd like to entertain a motion and second.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Norris.
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Tepedino. Is there any question or observation from a board member on that motion and second? If there is none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion's carried.
Thank you. The college requests approval of the operating budget for fiscal year 24-25, current fund unrestricted, Fund 1. State Board of Education Rule 6A-14.0716 requires the college to prepare a budget for the current fund unrestricted, Fund 1, and subsequent to approval by the Board of District of Trustees, and submit a copy of the approved budget to the Division of Florida Colleges for review and approval. The college baccalaureate operating budget is an integrated part of the budget presented.
You hear the executive director's request. We'd like to entertain a motion and second to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Norris.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Is there any question or observation about this item? Okay, a great deal, so much work goes into especially this month's work, and I appreciate it so much.
Definitely a team effort. Yeah.
All in favor of that motion and second, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried.
The college requests approval of the Florida College System Capital Improvement Plan and legislative budget request for years 25 to 26 through 27 to 28 for Florida Gateway College. This report is required to be completed annually by the college and submitted to the Division of Florida Colleges. The division will use this data from the report to submit requests for public education capital outlay, PICO funding, in the next legislative session. The CIP2 summary is provided for information and approval. Those are the priority projects that we're requesting.
We'd like to entertain a motion and second relative to our executive director's request.
I so move.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Second, Medina.
Mr. Medina, did you second? Thank you. You hear the motion and second to approve. Is there any question or discussion? All in favor of the item, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion's carried.
Thank you. The college requests permission to write off uncollectible accounts receivable. All efforts to identify and collect these receivables have been exhausted. These accounts have been delinquent for 2 years and/or $20 or under, or have been delinquent for 1 year. As this compares to last fiscal year, our write-off amount went up slightly by $3,184.64, or a 15.2% increase. As it dropped significantly last year due to the COVID-related money, we were able to pay some of the older funds off. So now we're coming out of that a little bit. We're going to see them uptick slightly, but we're working it hard.
Back to reality, and that's not a big increase, though. It's not in my opinion. You hear the executive director's request for approval. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Lander. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Tepedino. Is there any question or discussion by the board? If there is none, all in favor of the motion and second, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. The motion is carried.
Thank you. The college requests approval of budget amendment number 10 to the restricted current fund, Fund 2, for the fiscal year 23-24. This amendment recognizes revised award authorizations and new grants received in the 23-24 fiscal year.
You hear the request by our executive director. We'd like to entertain a motion and second to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Norris. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Surrency. Is there any question or discussion by any board member on this item? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign, and the motion is carried.
Thank you. The next item, we're requesting approval of Fund 7, Budget Amendment 10, which has been revised so the report reflects actual revenue, revised budgeted expenditures, actual expenses, and updated projects through May 22nd, 2024.
You hear the executive director's request. Do we have a motion and second for approval?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve that.
Thank you, Dr. Surrency. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Is there any question or discussion by any board member? If not, all in favor of the motion and second, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. It's carried.
Thank you. Okay, my final request. The college requests approval to move funds from Fund 1, current unrestricted fund, to Fund 7 capital funds in order to replace PICO funding, which has not been awarded from the state in the past 2 years. The money is necessary for capital improvement projects in and around campus, and if approved, this transfer will take place before June 30th, 2024.
Great. You hear our executive director's request. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Norris. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Any question, any observation or discussion by our board? If there is none, all in favor of this motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The same sign. The motion is carried.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I
Please.
make a statement again? Mrs. Holloway, what a great job. Like, you stepped into this role so many years ago, and I know we had faith in you, but you have exceeded every expectation. And I just want to let you know that you represent our institution at every audit to the highest level of integrity. When it comes to budgeting, when it comes to being able to go to Tallahassee and request what we need to, every T is crossed, every I is dotted. You always impress all of us. So I hope it doesn't fall on deaf ears when we say how lucky we are to have you. So thank you.
I appreciate it, but it is a team effort, though.
Well,
I have to
appreciate
spread the
that.
wealth.
I appreciate that, but I also think that you stepped into this role so many years ago. I remember when
7
you
years.
Yeah, I remember when she started in that role, and I thought, I mean, I didn't doubt you, but I thought, well, there's a lot, and there were things that needed to be
Fine-tuned.
fine-tuned. That's a very nice way of saying that. Yes, yes, fine-tuned, and you have tweaked things to a level that, like, I mean, you're really important to us. So thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Okay. Our president's report.
So I'll start, I just gave you some, I would ask that you keep her in your thought and prayers. Miss McGinnis is in the hospital, not doing very well. So please keep her in your thoughts and prayers in the coming days. I'd like to start just by saying, I had mentioned in the workshop, we have a new VP of Academic Affairs, Kathleen Ciaz-Voles. She comes from us from Florida State College at Jacksonville, 29 and a half years of experience. She's currently the Associate Provost at there. And I think FSGJ has had like 5 presidents during that time. I said, hopefully she won't have 5 presidents here. So she'll be a very good leader, I believe, and all the leadership and all these people in this room have gotten to meet her. So we're so excited about that. I also mentioned that Dean Chris Brady takes over as a dean. He's been promoted to the CTE workforce programs. And with us tonight is Troy Appling, who's the interim dean of liberal arts. He's already really began, but he'll begin his duties July 1st. And Troy's been with the institution 18 years or 15. So glad to have that reorganization. Usually at this meeting, I will tell you, trustees, is that we usually have the organizational chart, but there's still some tweaks that are being made. And so we will have that for you in August. So I just wanted to let you know, it's full transparency. Usually we have that for you, but we don't have it started. Want to follow up, it wasn't on my agenda. Dr. Tepedino, Trustee Tepedino brought up, so in 2014, our rates were $71 an hour. Believe it or not, I just did a big presentation on our history and our tuition and fees. So in 2004, we were actually at $84 a credit hour.
Wow.
So we've actually, it's unheard of, and during the period of time since 14 to 2024, the increase at public institutions' tuition and fees has been 65% nationally. So it just puts things into a little bit more perspective, thanks to the duties of everyone here today. Some things I mentioned to you earlier, but I just want to mention in the regular board meeting, disclosure forms, they're now all electronic, and they're due on July 1st. Amy will send out a reminder to you, and we can try to help you as much as possible, but they need to be sent in by you directly. So please do that as soon as you can. Graduation day is August 8th. Please let us know if you're going to be there. And also August 8th is the next board meeting of the trustees, so it'll be killing two birds with one stone. The board meeting, hopefully if you start at least a process tonight, it will start at 5 p.m. and graduation will be at 6:30, correct? And as Casey reported earlier, we'll have 80 students there and lots of faculty, so it'll be a great time. Also wanted to bring to your attention earlier about the budget, and I should say, we were one of only 4 schools, Lee, or 5 schools that received, 4 schools that received a special supplement in the budget. So as we talk about some of the negatives of the budget, a $1 million reoccurring operational fund, we're one of only 4 schools that got it. The other 24 schools got 0% increase in operational money. And how we presented it was, we talked about this in the past, about all our work and how our listing is that we're very low compared to the other colleges in funding, state operating account. So, and that's a very positive, and that did not get vetoed in the budget process. I didn't mention that earlier. We did have 2 of our projects vetoed, both the welding project and the waterproofing project, but we've already begun to try to seek out new projects in the budget. And then the big issue in the budget has been the health insurance. And we talked about that briefly, that the money was vetoed by the governor, but it seems that he assigned the bill for the state health insurance for the 28 colleges to go into that. And there's lots of, even after this workshop, I heard lots of noise about it from other colleges and so forth. So we just need to pause and figure this out. So, and if we do need to have a significant budget reduction or significant budget discussion with you, what we should do, we'll be doing that in August. And if have to, we'll call emergency meeting, but I don't think we'll have to. But so that is that. That's about it. I just want to tell you that it's been a challenging year. Thanks to your leadership and the staff and the faculty, we finished strong. We might have not finished as positive as we did, but we have finished strong. And I'm proud to serve with these people for 9 consecutive years. So thank you. There's a couple of other things we need to do. I would ask that we wait. Ms. Logan, do they have to vote on the self-evaluation, or is that just informational purposes?
Informational purposes only.
Okay, good. So, and then I'd ask, which is an actual action item, is the annual review of the mission statement. And that mission statement is, the mission of Florida Gateway College is to provide superior instruction, nurture individual development, and enrich the diverse communities it serves through affordable, quality higher education programs and lifelong learning opportunities. We do need to review this each year and ask that the board take action on it. And some in other years, we've changed a word or two here, but that is an action item, Mr. Chair.
Sure. You hear the statement is read by the president. He's requesting approval of that statement, which we must do annually. Are there any changes or additions that anyone would like to make to the statement?
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
You're like, here she goes again. We're coming to the end, and why won't you just shut up? But given some of the things that you told us earlier at the workshop about some of the challenges, and again, higher education is now almost having it needs to be rebranded a little bit. Should we think about maybe adding something in about career ready, or something that shows that we're focusing on not necessarily just about higher education, but career readiness? Just a thought. I'll vote for it whatever way we do, but.
So we could.
I'm one person. I'm just asking.
I'll make a suggestion to the board that probably you should approve it today, and then we'll come back and bring it back to the board with some suggestions.
I'm one person. Does anybody else feel that way, or does anyone think that's worth considering?
Yeah, maybe something along the lines of in lifelong learning opportunities that foster career readiness.
It's like from what you said earlier,
because it's
higher education is just starting to almost become, elitist.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that?
Would you say that again, please?
Sure. Lifelong learning opportunities that foster career readiness.
I like that.
And then it's just an extension of kind of our function, but we're staying true to kind of the motto and the.
This way we don't have to do a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it cost us any money if we have to change it?
Well,
it's-
currently I will tell you, yeah, we have to update that sign, but we don't have to. Remember, we did that for. We did,
I like it the way it is.
well, we have to tell you because that was when we had the accreditation. We did it throughout.
I like it the way it is.
Cost effective.
Should have asked that question first.
That's how we keep the tuition.
That's how we keep it down. And if you wonder, and it is
I
stuck
like
up
it
there with
just the
bubble
way it
gum
is.
from a previous meeting that we put. But it looks good.
Are those signs depreciated off yet, Michelle?
Okay, are there any other observations, discussion? I think Trustee Norris's,
I withdraw my suggestion at this point until we look at budgetary issues on it.
Okay.
So then I'll make a motion to go ahead and make the modification with the statement I made earlier.
okay?
And let's get it done. So
We have a motion,
I love you.
we have a motion to approve the statement as amended by Dr. Teppadino. Are there any questions, observations?
Second?
Yes.
Will this cost less than $5,000? Great. Then I'm good with moving forward
Do we
then.
have a second?
Yeah.
John, you make a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other questions, observations? It was a great point, Trustee Norris. If there are none, then all in favor of that, members of the board, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's carried. It is right now all about CTE and K-12. I mean, it's right on point.
Chairman Crawford, if I could.
Yes, please.
If I could just add, I mean, I completely agree with the changes. To me, it seems like we're creating a mission statement before we truly understand what the obstacles and the challenges and the opportunities that we're facing. And so while I agree completely with what we've just approved, based on what President Barrett indicated, the whole landscape is changing. And so I would encourage us in the future, near future, through workshops or surveys or conferences, to take a look at, where is higher ed going? So.
And I'll just, Mr. Chair, can I?
Please.
I will just add that I agree with the change. I think it's very important, and I concur with John. One of the things I really didn't, because I think we were running out of time, was that the plan is come July 1st, we're going to institute the strategic planning thing from the bottom up again, and I will be leading it now that I won't take, and so we'll be dealing with a lot of the institutional assessment office and so forth. So I think some of those things could potentially change it again down the road. So I mean, so I'm just saying. So usually, and I will say, when we did this, this was during our accreditation years and so forth, and really they have become obsolete with a lot of issues. So the changes that would have to occur for this will only be catalog changes. We'll have to notify SACs. There are some things, but they're not overly marketing based at this time. But down the road, they will be marketing based. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Question for you, do you anticipate coming back to us at the end of your strategic planning and
Because you
changing
have
it
to
again?
approve that. You have to approve
Right,
it.
so I know we just voted on this, but now having that new piece of information, should we think about waiting and not implementing it until we come back and see if we need to change it so we don't spend money twice? Just a question.
Oh, I think if I'm not mistaken, what you're saying is coming up with a long-term plan. I think right now, the whole purpose of what we're doing is about making people ready for whatever. I think what Mr. Medina was saying, if I'm not mistaken, is what will those careers be and how do we adapt as a college? Not so much the language of the statement. Now, I mean, I could be misreading what he said, but that's how I read it. So in other words, we're going to sit down and workshop this, and this will be what we suss out over the next year, really. How do we, because programs that potentially don't get funded and don't get shot, don't make it, don't mean that they don't matter. And so how do we get those on board? I think it doesn't change the change that I feel like we made today.
Not at all.
And voted
I
on.
think that change should inform the
Where we
work
need to
that
go.
is done.
Okay.
Yeah. So in other words, what direction are we going in?
Sure. Yeah. And certainly this college, since I have been here, and I pay close attention to our enrollment numbers, our growth, and the growth that we have had, as we all know, while many other state colleges in the state of Florida have had negative growth, negative growth, negative growth. We heard our numbers again, wonderful numbers today, so that we have had our pulse on our customer base, where the direction they're going, and I know that you'll continue to do that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may say one more thing.
Yes, please.
This really smart person that sits next to me when I first started told me that, Miguel, when the economy is changing, people double down on education. And, you know, I know that politically it can be charged to say, are we in a recession or not? I'm not here for that political purpose. I know that people need to work, people need to make a living, people, you know, economically coming off the heels of COVID and some of those other things. And so a very, very smart person, i.e. Suzanne Norris, taught me that. And so when we see those numbers that Casey was telling us about earlier, I mean, it is what it is, right? And so, like, I'm so excited to be a part of an institution that's nimble, the dynamic. We can pivot, we can make good choices, and we can offer what our community needs. I think our strategic planning will come down to, well, what do we see in our communities and our counties that we represent the needs to be? And I think the fact that we offer the CDL thing and how many people have gone through for free, and those jobs are incredibly well paying, and these are all people that the moment they're done, they have a job. When we do the HVAC work that we do, and all these people have jobs. And so, like, I remember many moons ago sitting down when I was first charged with the position to be a board of a trustee on this board. It was Rick Scott at the time, and he was very much about what we do matters when it comes down to providing the opportunity for people to contribute in a meaningful way. And everything that is going on in this college and the direction that we go as we pivot, we turn left, we turn right, is for that function. And so I'm really proud of it, and I'm proud of your suggestion, and that's why, you know, I stood behind making that change today, because it is a representation of what we do. So I'm proud of it, and again, like, this really smart person sits next to me who taught me a lot of what I know about.
I think I went to a conference and that's what they said, so.
No. But it is true, and so, like, it's neat to see things in action, and like you said, other schools may not have that because they don't offer what's needed. And I mean, that's not a diss to them, that's just a kudos to us.
We had a 13% increase in summer enrollment this year over last year, and last year when we were offering buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
And we didn't offer any free classes.
Yeah.
So,
like,
a 13% increase. You all have your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Appreciate it.
Because I thought, like, oh, no offense, I thought when we were doing that last year, I thought, well, I just prepare yourself, because next year the numbers, I mean, I literally said the numbers aren't going to be so good because you're not offering, you know, this free thing, which was a great thing to promote. You know, it was the math, and by George, I was wrong. So I'm okay being wrong in that situation. So anyways, thank you, Chairman. Sorry to talk so much.
So I'm, with my report still, Megan, I have to ask a question. Can the board vote on the board meetings for next year before we do the reorganization, or they can do?
Yeah, it's just to set the schedule and or
Okay.
the August meeting, our next
Okay.
meeting.
So that's the next request I would ask to Mr. Chair, is to approve the Board of Trustee meetings for next year, 2024 and 25. They will be the second Thursday, as usual, of the month at 5 p.m. with current scheduled workshops for May 8th, 2025, and June 12th, which are the budget workshop meetings. So, and there, in your book, in your packet, it says locations. The usual location, we try to get out to Union County, Dixie County, and Baker County. So, is that okay? So,
Okay, everyone sees the board calendar. You've had that. Is there any, we need a motion to approve, and a second, of course.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you,
calendar
Dr.
as presented.
Cerency. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen. Is there any question or discussion on that matter? If not, all in favor of that, members of the board, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion's carried.
And then the final thing on my agenda, Mr. Chair, is the moving forward with the reorganization or organization of the board for the 2024-25 year. And we have a form that we fill out each year, and this is the part of my job that I always get confused at who leads this discussion. Megan, can you help me? I mean, do I ask it, or does the chair ask, or what do we do on this situation?
As far as reorganization
Yeah.
of the board, I think you can wait until next meeting. The statute contemplates that, the first meeting after our
Okay.
July 1st deadline. But obviously, just with the intention
Okay.
of
Okay.
gauging interest in both the chair and vice chair.
Okay.
So, to that end, I'll make a quick observation myself to share with you all, and I have more to say a little later on. You all remember that song by the Byrds? That was basically Ecclesiastes chapter 3, Turn, turn, turn. You remember that. I'm old enough. Some of y'all are not. But so they just sang Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and was a hit record. Why couldn't I think of that? And I think there were 28 different seasons that were listed. I wasn't a math major, but I think that's right. 28 different seasons that were listed in life. And so I bring that up to say this. My family is entering a different season of life, and it's sweet and it's sad. I built our home whenever I was 23 years old. And so for 40 years, we've lived in the home. You can do the math now. I'm going to retire from the Baker County Public School District with 35 plus years in August. Sometime this next year, my wife and I hope to move to be close to our son, who is at Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. So we will be departing. I'm going to try to hang on, if you all allow me, as a trustee as long as I can. But with reorganization coming up, I need to let the board know that we need to consider someone else for board chair. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to serve you all as chair. You are wonderful, noble, the easiest people in the world to work with and get along with. And if folks can't get along with you, they need to stay at home. That's a fact. So.
Is that a segue into my board self-evaluation results?
That is.
A good one, too, I might add. All right, Mr. Chair, board members, as you know, annually the board evaluates itself based on 6 categories using a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being unacceptable and 5 being superior. The first category was mission and planning, and there were 4 subcategories beneath that. Board members are knowledgeable about the culture, history, and values of the district. Board members regularly review the mission and purpose of the institution. Board assures that the institutional plans are responsive to community needs, and the board actively supports the mission and guiding principles of the college. The board gave itself a 5 out of 5 on that last subcategory, and totals of 4.87 for the other 3. The second category was board leadership and meetings. The board understands its roles and responsibilities. Board meetings are conducted in an orderly and efficient manner. The board maintains confidentiality of privileged information. The board understands and adheres to Florida Sunshine Law. The board meetings and workshops provide sufficient opportunity to explore key issues, enable good board decisions. Board agenda items include sufficient background information and recommendations and are relevant to the work of the board. And then finally, the board will elect a chair whose duty it is to preside at all meetings of the board, and a vice chair whose duty it is to act as chair during the absence or disability. The board gave itself 5s across the board, with the exception of the board meetings and workshops provide sufficient opportunity to explore key issues, which was a 4.87. The next category, policy, role, and direction. The board understands its primary function is to establish policy by which the college is to be administered. Board clearly understands its policy role and differentiates its role from those of the president and college staff. The board assures that the institution complies with relevant laws, regulations, and accreditation standards. The last two categories were 5s, with the first being a 4.87. The next category, board and president relationship, had 4 subcategories, of which the board rated itself a 5 in all categories. The board maintains a positive working relationship with the president. The board clearly designates the administration to the president. The board evaluates the college president regularly on his performance, responsibilities, duties, and achievements. And the board periodically reviews the president's contract to assure appropriate support and compensation. The next category was fiduciary role. The board gave itself 5s across the board. The board assures the budget reflects priorities in the institution's plans. The board policies assure effective fiscal management and internal controls. And the college manages its financial resources in a responsible manner and exercises appropriate control over its financial resources. The final category was educational programs and student achievement. The board is knowledgeable about the institution's programs and services. The board gave itself a 4.75 out of 5. The board is appropriately involved in the accreditation process, 4.87. And the board is knowledgeable about the educational and workforce training needs in the 5-county district, of 4.87. So obviously a very high ranking overall. There were just a few comments that spoke to how well the board worked together, similar to your comments, Mr. Chair, and that the board understands the roles and responsibilities and is actively involved in the college's success.
Are there any questions, statements that anybody would like to make concerning the board's self-evaluation and our attorney's report out? If not, what else do you have?
So let me clarify once again so we don't even have to talk about, they don't have to talk about this tonight?
They do not. We can do it in August.
So we can do it in August, okay. That being said, can I have the floor for 1 minute, Mr. Crawford? I've worked for some wonderful chairs. I started with Dr. Randolph, who was my hiring. I've had Suzanne for, I think, 3 years as the board chair. I then had Miguel for a wonderful 2 years with a different ride. And I think David's been with us 3 years, this is 3rd year as the chair. All fantastic chairs, and it goes to say about this board. And before the board talks, usually I'm very transparent about something. I knew David and I had a discussion about this, and I'm going to surprise you, you don't know that, but I hope you're here in August because you will be the alumni of the year. Oh.
I'm never at a loss for words. You all know that by now.
And with changing seasons, things come with celebrations, and that's what we should do.
Yeah.
Wow. Would somebody make a motion to adjourn? Is there anything else that we need to? Okay. All we need is a motion to adjourn. We don't have to.
I want to enjoy this moment a little bit longer. I move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Regretfully.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Oh, my God.
I talked to Sherry this afternoon about it.
I know Underhill. Congratulations.